Yes, you're going to have people turn their backs, but it's time for us to keep it real. Just keep talking that real, bro. Do what you do. I know what you do, so keep doing that. Talk the real.
The HBI lads will see you now. See you now. See you now.
I don't want to cause no problems. I just want to live my life, but I keep on hearing about nonsense.
And welcome back, HBI podcast, health, business, and in between. My name is Dr. Nathan Bridger. I am a chiropractor out of North Fremantle in Perth, Western Australia, and joined, as always, who we start with today, by the, I always want to say Washington Wizard. I don't know why. It just rolls off really well because like Cran Wizard doesn't do the same thing. But physiotherapist extraordinaire, Mr. Ben Humphries, how are we, my man?
Mate, I'm going good. Going good. What about you, bro?
Always good, mate. Always good. And then the third member of the illustrious team, the shiny assassin himself, my therapist, Mina Garris. How are we?
Fantastic. I'm good. How are you, brother?
I'm good, my man. I'm very good. So today we're talking, I guess we're talking starting up a business, but we're talking more managing personal lives or personal contexts around starting and managing a business. So I know, to put some context for the listener in, I'm in the process of opening the business as we speak. Obviously, our podcast's not for being previously recorded, so some people have heard me talk about opening up in March, and it's currently second week of Feb. I don't know where we're at anymore, man. I just drove across the Nullarbor. I drove across the Nullarbor in 3 days the other day. I'm just sort of come back to Earth. I'm currently seated in my parents-in-laws.
How many kilometers is that?
About 3,600. It was about 36 hours of driving in 3 days. It was, it's good. I was dealing with my dad.
Yeah.
We didn't kill each other, which is a good start. I thought we were going to a couple of times, but, managed it very, very well. So I'm in the process now. I've got tradies in the place. I'm getting everything set up. I'm trying to get all the marketing going. I'm trying to get all the, the little bits and pieces that you don't think of, but at the same time, recognizing that I have a partner and a 7-month-old baby that I need to be spending proper time with. So it's a bit of an interesting time. So I think this one's going to be a real good one for anyone who's at any stage of business, because I know we're all at different levels. So, Mina, do you want to give people your sort of crux of where you're at the moment?
Yeah, love to. So business and personal life, something for me comes in the middle of that, and that's stress, right? Because you're trying to look after your personal life through your business, but managing that, sometimes you can run yourself down to the ground, or your relationships get affected. So sometimes it's a bit of a double-edged sword. So I was actually in this position last week, and Benny will laugh because I use Ben and I use Nathan as my soundboards to make sure I'm not flipping out and going insane, because we're all similar situations. We're all in similar situations, but how we handle these things, you need someone to kind of support you through that. So I appreciate that, boys. But what really came out of that was, define your structure. Define your structure in terms of, how do I manage personal life? How do I manage business life? How do I create time to work on the business versus in the business? Okay. So I had something called an ad hoc structure, which meant, I was doing things as sporadically as things spiked. And it's like your flight or fight mode, which is an absolutely bad place to be in. But that's kind of where you start, and that's where you learn from, right? For me, the one thing that's really worked, and it's about to shape up my next 12 months, is I created something called my perfect week. In that week, I created, in terms of work, how much do I need to work in order to keep my personal, professional life afloat? Bare minimum. Right? So for me, basically, I need about 40 treatments a week to make sure that everything else stays sustainable, so that I'm not financially stressed.
That's still a lot. Considering you do a minimum 45-minute consult, right?
Yeah.
That's still correct. A lot of
it is a lot, but when you actually look at how much time you have in the day, I had probably about an extra 13 hours a week that I didn't even know what to fill up with. Mm-hmm. Right? So I factored in training
on yourself.
Yeah, correct. So I call it a bit of a task audit, right? So have a look at the stuff that takes me too much time, stuff that I can delegate out, and things that I can actually do myself. So you need to kind of have that balance. Mm-hmm. So I create something called a task audit. So I see how long things actually take me to get done and pencil that into my planner. Second thing, I have a look how much time I actually need to work, how much time is for just me, and how much time is for spending time with my family, right? And once I've actually plotted everything in place, everything is a lot more streamlined and structured, and I have time for me to spend in the business with my family and on the business as well. So these are key things that are working out fantastically for me.
That's good, bro. I think that a really good place to start is organizing things, right?
Yeah.
And making sure you understand, your financial costs, right? You need to understand, what does my business cost to run, like every day, every week, every month, whatever it may be, and understand whether it's you or your staff, and obviously making enough revenue to cover those costs. But I'm in the same boat. I've ordered my day, understand, if this takes a few extra minutes here, it's going to chop into this, which might chop into this, which means I'm running late on this, and I might spend less time with my girlfriend or whatever it may be. So I believe that the perfect place to be for some organisation, but sometimes the execution I find is tough.
Well, this is why you kind of plan for it. And this is where the baby steps come in, because, all right, cool, your action could be, I need to market. Well, that's too broad, right? So, I need a marketing plan. So your plan's effectively of, okay, I need 2 hours aside to brainstorm to then decide what I need to do for marketing. All right. Yeah. And then you create actions from there, and similar to our bodies, but structure defines function. Right. So when you're, even with our bodies or even with the way we run our lives, if we focus purely on our structure, our function will happen. And you're right, you got to action. Wanting it is not enough.
Absolutely.
No, man, 100%. And like, I think what you're just describing is something one of my coaches often talked about. And Lawrence, if you happen to listen to this and I butcher this, I'm really sorry. But he used to talk about the ABC days, and basically the idea being like, when you look at your day, A is the time where you're seeing clients, right? You can't do anything while you're seeing clients other than see clients. So you just have that mapped off as it is. Like, his B is the time where you're working on the business, but you're not in the business. And that's got to be allotted in too. And then C's for everything else. C's that time where you're like, I have to not think about business here. I'm not allowed to book business in here. This is family time, this kind of stuff, So that way, it's not as in-depth a framework as what I think you're talking about, Nina, but it's that baseline. If you're someone, if we're trying to lose weight, we're trying to get stronger in the gym, we don't just go, cut 1,000 calories out or suddenly try and deadlift 400. You got to start and go up incrementally. And I think the ABC is a really good framework for people to go, right, well, this is, I can't do anything about. This is business time and this is me family time. And then we can go, then you can always turn it up to 11 from there.
Yeah, absolutely. That's good. I personally, because I started the business when I was single, and it was just, my brother was single, I was single, like everything was just go business. Like
it's easier.
6 a.m. starts to 9 p.m. finishes with clients, and then it's like just hustling, grinding. But then, it's easy when you're single, right? Not even like you got a baby, but then I got a girlfriend. I'm like, all right, I can't do this, otherwise my relationship will die. Yeah. So I've had to drop from X amount of sessions a week, dropped like a third over the last 6 to 12 months, which has been good. And obviously we've got some people in to help, which is really good now. But I found that it's still a real tough balance for me, like getting, even putting my phone down, like when I get home after work. I look at my screen time every day, and I feel like I'm blocked on that thing. I'm doing a lot of communication, content, like I'm on it all the time, which is annoying. But the statistics that the iPhone's brought out, which is like how many pickups a day, how many times you get notified a day, how long you're spending on it, has been really important. Like, and I've understood that to sustain a relationship, it needs to be 100% in. Like, you can't be like 10% here on your phone. Yeah. And it's just been a real eye-opener for me to maintain a relationship while run this thing.
And structure creates routine, right? So if when I told my wife when I first started, like, you got a missus, I got a wife, you got a kid and wife, you got the whole thing, Nath, right? So this is a really good channel for people to look at, because we're looking at it from 3 different angles, right? But now my wife knows, my partner knows, okay, Tuesday night is date night.
Yeah.
Okay? That's set, that's locked in. She gets her time. Sunday is family day. I see her family. I see my family.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Right.
when the routine is there, any other time I need to grind, leave me alone.
She's aware. That's right.
She's aware.
Yeah.
So the expectation is set, and male, female, doesn't matter. But if we all have needs, we all have
Absolutely.
fulfillments, and it's about how we communicate this sort of thing in our both with our clients and with our relationships.
Yeah.
So it's important that people have an expectation.
That's it, man. Like, it all comes back to communication every time, right?
Yeah.
And the big thing here is that other person should be on board with your visions and goals as well, and you on with theirs. Like, I know right now, Gypsy, my partner, she's right in, and she's going to be working in the business with me, which doubles it up. She's going to be on the front desk. She's going to be first point of contact, and that I'm super excited for it.
Good.
But it also means we have to
exciting.
really set that time outside of the business. We don't talk about business because we're going to be living, working,
Consuming, bro.
And I've been there when I was younger, and like, you're sitting there, you're like, you get your partner come up to you and they're like, we need to spend some quality time. I was like, I spend 10 hours a day with you. Like,
But that's not quality time. That's just time.
I was like, I actually need some time for me to go do something. Whereas, I was young and dumb at that time, thinking, I was like, no, we spend heaps of time together.
No,
I'm just
we
going to
good.
go hang out with the boys for a couple of beers because I need me alone time.
Yeah.
But that's it. You've got to, like, with time comes understanding, and you have to make sure we set these times. And, I think, Ben, you made that point before, like, for those who are actually watching this phone, there's Poppy looking at everybody judging you. But, like, it's amazing how quickly it gets attached to you, right? Like, I was doing this, I did the same thing. I did the screen time. I was averaging like 5 hours a day at one stage.
Let me check mine. This is interesting.
Yeah. You have a look there. And then, like, I'm making the excuse. I'm like, I do a lot of work from it. I do a lot of business stuff on it. And you do, but
We
how
call
much
them
that
reasonable
time-
reasons.
Yeah.
Mm.
But they're not actually reasonable, because then how many times have you found yourself just sitting there scrolling and you're not even looking at the screen?
It's like, what are you looking for?
I'm just scrolling through. I haven't even looked. So
Need that dopamine hit.
Right. I put time limits on mine now. So mine locks out. My phone locks out from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m., which doesn't seem like a lot, and of course you can unlock it. And then I have half-hour limits on any of the social media, which I always unlock after it. But it gives me, it's like anything, it tells me where I'm at.
Aware of it.
Like,
Absolutely.
and if I get past a certain time, I'm like, all right, we're doing good. Like, if it's 1 p.m. in the afternoon and I'm only just hitting my limit, I'm like, sweet. If it's 8 a.m., I'm like, damn, man, you need to get that phone off you. But you can live without it. Like, if nothing, I learned more on the trip across the Nullarbor when I had 16 hours with that. Like, it was more than that. It was a day and a half with no reception, no phone use. And I was like, all right, this is totally fine.
Good.
Still lived. And now
This
when I
is
go
scary. This is some scary stats.
oh, mate, you will.
What are we looking at?
That's disgusting. Yeah.
Is that just your search history, mate? Or what's going on there?
So 5 hours, 22 minutes
deleted
daily
that.
average.
Oh,
You like me?
At least 2 hours of that is reading and reference. So it's not bad.
that's right. Like, and again, I do a lot of that. You can take that out, I feel. Like, anything it's basically the stuff you want to see is what's happening when it comes to social media. That's
Well, I
you need to-
spend. Yeah, that's crazy. So probably most of it's on Instagram and TikTok.
Yeah.
which
Absolutely.
is in line with our marketing
Yeah.
strategies, of course, because that's
Of
kind of
course.
what we're looking for, But that's still pretty scary.
Yeah, and that's it. Like,
It's a good observation, because that way you kind of know where you're at. It's an awareness.
yeah. And so, like, one of my simple things that I put in
all of
place. Oh, I'm staying over you, Ben. I'm coming in. But, like, one of the things I put in since is, like, when I go out for dinner or when I get home. When we go out for dinner and we take Barb, I put the phone in the pram and it doesn't come out. When I get home, what I'm trying to get going and what I'll have in the new house is there's going to be a charging dock that's somewhere, and I put the phone there. And if I want to use the phone, I have to go there. So I can't have it on the couch. I can't have it with me. Like, it has to be in a spot. Like, maybe I'm weirdly going to be standing in the hallway a lot, but at least it, put some resistance to it. Because that's the thing, we need, for all of us, we need a level of resistance to stop us doing certain things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you don't have it, it's very easy just to be sitting there, like, scrolling away.
That's right. It's too easy. And it's just nothing changes, right? So as you said, it's going to make it a little bit of an effort, and you'd be surprised how much you don't do something. That's good, but I think all of us are in the same boat here. A lot of us generate our leads from Instagram. We generate our content on our phones. So a lot of it for me is justifiable, but like when you're clocking up 10 hours with clients a day or 8 hours with clients a day, and then you throw on the extra 5 hours screen time, like I've spent 13 hours like working or like my attention elsewhere. So the last thing you want to do is then go and spend time with your partner, and like, 13 hours a day is already gone. Like I should give them a couple of hours here and there.
Yeah. And the problem, mate, before we jump off this one, is you see that a lot of the times your time doesn't go down even on days you don't work. And that's when we need to be more aware of, I think. Like, it's Sunday, I'm not seeing clients, and yet my screen time is still sitting at 5-6 hours. Like, yes, you're still doing some marketing and that, but we need to have this time. But jump on, Ben. What were you about to say?
So I was going to wrap up on the phone, the screen time, and making sure you got a balance between work and your relationships and your children. Next, so I know you briefly explained it to me before. So I reckon, and Mina as well, you guys touch on how to handle when things haven't gone to plan, which is definitely what's happened at the moment.
Yeah.
So, you've got to understand what you're doing currently, and this is my exact learning. Where I was kind of just not knowing. I had a pretty good idea, but it wasn't structured. It wasn't structured in terms of, okay, this week, this is what's happening. Second week, this is what's happening. Third week, this is what's happening. And fourth week, and then read that. And I think that's exactly what was missing, right? Now, the reason why it was missing is because I'm growing, right? So now, for the last 7 years, it was just me. I knew my policies and procedures. I didn't have to tell myself how to open a door, how to do this, or how to do that, right? But now I've got, 3 workers on board now. And so now I've got an osteo joining me. I've got Sean, who's with me at the moment. I'm training up a girl who's becoming a myo, and I've got, a receptionist coming on board. And this has all happened in the last 6 weeks.
Fucking busy.
Fuck. Right? And so like I was kind of overthinking, I've got to do this, I've got to do that. Like all my wants were there, needs, but in terms of action wasn't there. Right. And the reason why I wasn't there, and again, I can justify it, but it's not okay. It's because I was too busy in the business. And to the point when I got home after 5 hours of screen time and working here, I'm done. Yeah. I'm finished.
Time's done. Time's up.
The time's done. I'm finished. Right. The day's finished, and I wake up at 6 a.m. and I get to bed about 10.
Yeah.
I'm done. Right. So reviewing and putting a structure in place to making sure that actually works. Right. Good. You've got to review your structure and your intent of that structure, because if you don't have one, it's just like not having a skeleton. You're flopped. You're nothing, right? You need to be able to have a structure in place in order for you to balance that. And then my mini goals, right? So for example, I've cut down my task list. So my task list was 37 tasks that I needed to achieve.
It's a lot.
You know what I've got now? 3.
Yeah.
Oh.
Right? Yeah, so all the crap, which is stuff that still needs to be done, but I've scaled that over the next 2 months.
Yeah.
All right, so I get to spend
I'm sure
priorities. So urgent versus important, right? And you need to be able to section that.
Well, have you used the traffic light system for tasks and goals? So traffic light system, you sit down, you write it all down.
Similar, yeah.
Yeah, like your reds are you like have to be done stuff, right? Like, they're
like your big rocks, small rocks theory.
Yeah, you don't cross goals. You like yellows would be nice if you can get all your reds done, and your greens are stuff that needs to be done over the next 6 weeks. And so when you're on a roll, they're there for you to tick off. And make sure because how often you've got this list of stuff, and like if we were to there's a bit of satire here, but at the bottom of the list is the number one thing. It's like, let's not die today. That's number one. And number 2 is like,
Survive.
we need to go to work. Yep. And then up top, not up top, it's like, really would love a beer. And you're like, all right, just going to skip the not dying and go straight to the beer bit here. Like it sounds like ridiculous, but
Yeah.
that's how often do we do that with like, your tasks.
Yeah.
You're like, here's the one that
Yeah.
if I don't do this, the business goes under, but I'm going to go focus on
Mm.
this one that's going to make my letterhead look a bit better. Like you need
Would you
to
like
sit
me
down
to
and
shed a specific example?
go ahead.
So for me, it was about building structure, okay, and structure in the clinic so that when I come to employ people, everything's good to go. All
Yeah.
right. So on my hindering list was 3 big items: talk to HR, deal with HR, right, and implement my
Yeah.
policies and procedures and contracts. Right. They were my three biggest
right.
things. Okay. I promise you, if I take you through my diary, they have been a priority for the last 3 months and
That's
never
right.
got done. All right. Everything was just too big to start. And my issue is just generally starting things because by the time I try and start, my brain's finished. Right. So I wrote the list. It was 37 things I needed to do. I counted 1, 2, 3, and the rest I just
Bloody hell.
scrapped. Literally threw it all away. And I said, okay, so organize a meeting, discuss contracts.
Done.
Right? When your
Tick it
goal
off.
is specific, you have a time frame and an action and a cause, you're going to have an effect.
Yeah. I
All right?
like it.
Yeah.
So on Monday, I spoke to HR. All right? I built all my policies and procedures. Right? I got my contract happening. I had conversations with my worker to explain that things were changing, and next week Monday everything will be implemented.
That's quick. That's good.
You know,
That's what,
the hair I don't have is growing back, so I'm happy.
That's right. So it's organisation.
You know,
That's right.
yeah.
So when
You've got to do it, or else you start stressing, and then you take that home, and
it
then
comes out.
It comes out nasty.
Yeah.
The grumpy man comes out.
Yeah, it's all pretty on Instagram and hi guys, how are you?
Yeah.
But Brian's like fuck this and fuck that, and business will just go 9 to 5. You know, and this is the stuff that I feel people need to see.
Yeah. And I'm going to
think,
go slightly different on it as well. It's like we also need to not be afraid to just call it when things are beyond our control. Like I was telling you boys before, like I'd expected to have all the outfitting done for the new clinic 2 weeks ago, and hopefully it's going to be finished this Saturday. So we're just over 2 weeks past. Now there's nothing I can do about that, and except I can get frustrated, I can get things like that. But at the end, but I just all I'm going to do, no mate, he's my boy. I'm looking after him. But at the end of the day, all you can do is react with what you can control. And like been talking to a few crew this year, my goal for 2020, and it was probably a bit of my goal for 2019 that I've continued through, is reducing emotional attachment to things we can't control. That sounds super generic and weird, but like, what am I going to do? Like, I could get mad, I could lose a bunch of time in the day, I could yell and shout. It's not going to get anything done. So I might as well just focus on what I can do, which is why I have my list of things to be done, which is more than sizable enough. Let's knock those off. Why can't get in the clinic right now? Work's going on. I'm going to be out of action with that for 4 days. Well, I can still do business accounts. I can still do social media. I can still get uniforms, things ready. There's always stuff to be done. And if we're not,
when you allocate time, it gets done.
Yeah. It's forest for trees, man. Like if you're not going to if you're so focused on one thing that you can't see everything else, well, then you're just wasting your time.
Yeah.
And you're not going to survive in business.
Yeah. So from what I'm getting from you two, it's about, like Mina said to me yesterday, is use that stress, an adequate amount of stress as your motivation to move on to the next thing. So, and as Nate said it, like, it's just like training a muscle is training your emotional control and gaining emotional intelligence. Is like, do I let that small mistake make me mad, productive, or do I fucking get angry for 5, go jump on a punching bag, or go for a quick walk, or do whatever you have to do to de-stress yourself, get that out of the system, and then move on to the next task. But I think it's important that you guys mentioned that the safety net there is the list of things to do. So it's like troubleshooting, like when something goes tits up, okay, that's out of my control now. I've been grumpy for 5. I feel better now, and then moving back onto the list. So I think it's important that you guys mention the organisation skills and having those lists of things to do.
100%, man. And I think we've talked about this
No, it's
before.
good.
But
Yeah,
this is
so
more...
it's
Oh. Sorry, guys, I lost you for a moment there.
all good. Keep going.
Oh, sorry, boy. I was going to say, like, one of the big things here, and like many, you've harped on about this, structure and having this through there. But this is something we've talked about before. Is I often talk about, or what my coach talks about, the 90-day game plan. It's easy to divide the year down into three. Like, you got 12 months, 4 quarters. So we should be booking escapes at the end of each quarter, whether it's a weekend, whether it's 2 weeks, whatever it is. This is how you buy back that time with family and friends when you've been pushing hard. Sometimes we need to go hard, right? Sometimes you have to sacrifice a bit of that other time because otherwise there'll be nothing left. But you also have to counter that with a deload, just like the same goes for training. So the deload is that holiday. And whether it's some kind of staycation or some kind of around the world trip, it needs to be the goal or as a secondary goal to you achieving what you're looking to achieve in business.
Yeah. You need to reward yourself and you need to take some time out and give yourself a bit of a pat on the back on what you've actually achieved and, celebrate your wins, like I had a chat to Benny, I think on Monday, and I said to him, my business coach, this and that, blah, blah, blah. And I reflected back and it was my fault because I didn't know what I wanted. I didn't know what was missing. And I couldn't figure out why things weren't working, and we're always good to blame other people. But if you're not aware of what's happening in your own backyard, you're the best person to help yourself, I've got a really good support network around me. I've got my family, I've got my wife, I've got you guys, I've got heaps of people to kind of bounce on. So like you said, Nath, don't be shy, go out there and find out, okay, what can I do differently? Instead of being in that mindset of, this is shit and depressed, like, you're not going to get anything out of it.
Yeah.
No. You're not going to get anything out of it at all.
Absolutely.
So lean on the people that are around you and don't let your headspace kind of linger in that space for too long.
Yeah.
And review what's not working. And that's like, as we say, it's like paint. It's like your engine light. If something's not working and you're getting stressed, then pick up on that and fix it quick, smart before it's detrimental to whatever you're trying to achieve.
Absolutely.
100%.
I think I've got a bit of psychology to throw at you guys. So you guys heard of Jordan Peterson?
Yeah.
Psychologist, Canadian dude. He's really good. He talks about, and this is looking down on the, I guess, the psychological level of things in the, I don't know if you call it neurochemistry or anything. Anyway, so he talks about the risk, responsibility reward ratio. So basically there is the dopamine, the feel good hormone, right? It makes you feel good, makes you feel happy, all right? So there's a threshold that your brain needs each day, multiple times a day, that it needs to be hit in order for you to get those emotions, those happier, enthusiasm, cheerfulness, emotions. And when you have too much, it's like a seesaw. So when you've got too much responsibility in your life, which is your job, financial problems, chores, anything that you consider a responsibility, and not enough reward, so the things that make you feel good, the things you actually want to do, you're going way out of balance. And this dopamine threshold actually doesn't get hit in your brain, which doesn't activate the threshold, that you can, begin to feel happy and productive again. So often, if you've stacked up your day too much of responsibilities, it's important to inject something you really enjoy in there. So let's say you do 2 hours of admin, Nate goes out, doesn't work out, feels good, comes back, happy, productive, dopamine levels are hit, ready to go again. And that has been a way that we even use that with our clients going for fat loss, where they might, as well as some gut health issues that they have, which can create these cravings. We make sure we inject things that people reward into their life, because what's a really quick go-to dopamine hit that we all, I guess, susceptible to? Sugar, food, social media, chocolate, whatever. So basically, if you've already programmed into your day the things that you actually enjoy, your dopamine levels will not dip too low below this threshold. And rather than you going, all right, I need a quick hit in my brain, I've got to pick up my phone, scroll. I need a quick hit, I'm going to grab that bit of chocolate and eat it. I've actually programmed in, futsal in the evening, catch up with Mina in the middle of the day, two things that I really enjoy. All right, now I'm good to go again. I feel happy, I feel energized, and I don't feel like I need to get back on my phone and start scrolling again just in order to hit that dopamine threshold. So I think that's an important, I think it's an important thing to note how the brain actually functions and what it actually seeks.
No, it's nice, man.
Like,
and that comes...
Sorry, even you're right. Even mentally for me, sorry, Nath. Like now that I've kind of built this timetable,
you feel good, right?
I haven't even implemented most of it yet, but I know exactly what's happening every single hour of the day next week. So I'm not stressed about getting things done. Like if I can tell you exactly how many things I've allocated in there, right? I've allocated study for research just to help myself develop more skills, right? I've added gym time 4 times a week.
In the gym.
Back in the gym, right? Which was a big thing that I did wrong in terms of like not training because it's affecting me physically and mentally, right? So I've had time for study. I've had time for content creation. I've added time for working on the business. I've added time for working in the business. I've added time for family. I've added time for date night. I've added time for spending time with you guys. I've added time for everything, and I still have 13 hours spare to fill.
Feels good.
I sat there and I
feel good. I feel good used to saying that. Makes me feel better. Yeah. No, fantastic.
That's it.
All right, I'm gonna final last thing for me. Just while we're on the psychology thing. So you were talking about Jordan Peterson. Love Jordan. I actually saw him live when he was in Melbourne. It was fantastic. But another book I read recently, it's called The Alter Ego Effect by, I think it's Josh Herman or Steve Herman. I have to find out who was actually called. But it talks about obviously stepping into these fields of play. So you got a field of play where you're the business owner, a field of play where you're the family man or woman, depending on who you are listening to this. A field of play where you're the clinician, all these different things. And sometimes we need to bring certain parts of ourselves into it. And one of the things that I was having real trouble with was stepping back out of work, back into family life. So I get home and it would take me like an hour to wind down. So, walk in, Gypsy's like, take the baby. And I'm like, I don't want to take the baby. I did, but I'm
rest.
I needed my mind to shut down from one end to the other. And so what they talked about, what my coach talked about, is instigating like little rituals that you have there, almost like if anyone's familiar with NLP, like an anchor to bring you into a certain state. So one of 2 things that I instigated, one, I would live close enough I would started walking to and from work. So that was my time to get into the zone and out of the zone. It was only 15 minutes, but it was enough. But then you can't always do that. So what I actually started using was I used music. So I'd have a particular song. And when that song came on, there's I'd have a song heading to work it's like your WWE walkout song, it's, here comes All About the Game of Triple H, and you're like ready, you're like, here we're going in, we're going to sort people out, so it's going to be awesome. Then I'd have one to shut that back down and go, mate, sing your own one, sing your own rap. But, and it's amazing the effect that has not only on yourself, but also your family life, because when you walk through that door, you're ready to go. It's not perfect every time, but even most of the time, it's just going to make things, I guarantee you, my partnerships will tell you the same, that it really, really helps things. So highly recommend, those little micro rituals for yourself. It's like doing gratitude and things like that. They're so much more powerful than people think or want to admit in order to get you in the right frame of mind.
Absolutely.
It's funny my coach has been trying to get me to do that. So morning rituals. And I said, look, man, I don't need that fluffy stuff, right? And,
the resistor.
Big time. She's like, I love people like you. And, when I first went to our, because every 3 months we go away, right? Yeah. And we have basically 3-4 days of just reviewing everything and where we're at, right? And with a bunch of other therapists as well. So it's really cool. And so they do this morning ritual thing where literally you just scream at the top of your lungs and you just you pump yourself. Yeah. And you just pump yourself. And I'm just like, a bunch of weird I'm like, no, it's not me. I'll do it in the car, right?
Yeah.
But you're right, and that kind of talks about that, that dopamine hit. It also talks about appreciating kind of where you've been at, and once you put that thought in your head every single day, I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna fucking do it, I'm gonna nail it, I'm gonna hit it, I'm gonna do it.
Absolutely.
You create that neural pathway for yourself, and you do get things done. So I'm still on the resistance and in the change curve. So I'm still at the denial part. I will move to acceptance. Soon enough, but I'm not there yet. But I'm really glad you actually mentioned that, because I thought it was just.
It's all about reps and sets. Just got to get those reps and sets in.
Absolutely, and it's that meaner. What that is, it's taking you out of here, and like bringing your attention to what is actually happening in the world, and like you're typically thinking about looking like a dickhead rather than like, oh, what you got to do next, which completely like will de-stress you and make you feel so much better.
I haven't gained the full benefits. So I don't care what I look like. I do a lot of dumb shit that makes me look like an idiot. But I couldn't see how screaming at the top of my lungs was going to do that. So I'm in practice. I'm in my rehab for that.
Can't surrender.
That's good.
And but yeah, so
nice, man.
Love it.
No, I look forward to hearing how it goes.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Well, we will call it in today. It's been a big one. I hope everybody got something awesome out of today. There were some real pearls in there. As always, if you got something, please share it with a friend. Grab a screenshot, throw it on the gram, on the story, tag us in it. If you have any questions, as always, reach out, and please give us a 5-star review wherever you get your podcast fix, whether it's iTunes, Spotify, whatever it is. Let us know that we're helping out. As always, HBI Podcast. Look forward to seeing you next week. Apparently, we're throwing shuckers up. I'm getting in late. And
hold on. 1, 2, 3, and done.
Anyone who is listening, we are awkwardly posing.